again, boys and girls. Now let's talk about some science. This week, I want you to read chapter 7 in your science book, and it's called Matter, M-A-T-T-E-R. Now, we've heard that word before, but we've used it as, what's the matter? Or, is something the matter with you? Now, this is a different word. This is a science word, matter. Now, what is matter? Well, matter is anything that takes up space and anything that can be weighed, that has weight. There's matter all around us. In my lap, I have one of Blake's stuffed animals. This is Hermie. Hermie is matter. My book that I'm teaching from, this is matter. My earrings, matter. It's all around us. Your bed, your bicycle, your shoes, all matter. Now there's 3 types of matter, and that's what I want you to think about and read about this week in your science book. There's 3 types of matter. We have solids, liquids, and gases. All 3 of these are a different type of matter, and all 3 of these have very different characteristics that I want you to talk about. Well, we're not talking about them. You're going to read about them and experiment with, because you can do some fun experiments with the 3 types of matter. Let's talk about our first one. Let's talk about a solid. Now, a solid is a form of matter. Now, solid, it can be weighed. That means, like, if you put it on a scale, you could weigh it. It takes up space. A solid keeps its own shape and size. Like Hermie, for example. He has his own shape and his own size. Now, it does not change on its own, but I can bend his arm, bend his leg, bend his ear, but a solid doesn't change its shape on its own. He can't do it himself. I have to do it to him. Now, another example of a solid is some Play-Doh. I love to play with Play-Doh. We have some in our classroom. Maybe you have some at home. Now, Play-Doh is another example of a solid. Now, by itself, it cannot change. But I can bend it. I can mold it. I can even tear it apart. But when I put it back together, it comes back to its original shape and its original size. It cannot change on its own. I can change it, but this is just a lump of Play-Doh. So that's an example of a solid. Now you're also going to learn about liquids. A liquid, there's all kinds of liquids. There's clear liquids, there's sticky liquids, there's thick liquids. A liquid is a type of matter. I have some examples. I have some soap. Soap is a liquid. I have some honey from my kitchen. Honey is a liquid. Now these are both examples of thick liquids. I also have a water bottle. Now what's interesting about a liquid is a liquid keeps its size, but it does not keep its shape. If I were to pour my water into a different container, it would change its shape to fit that container. Let's try some. I brought a glass from my kitchen. Oh, that made a loud noise. I brought a jar, a clear jar. So if I were to pour my clear liquid into this jar, it's gonna take the shape. It's gonna take the shape of that jar. Now, if I poured this back in here, all of this liquid would fit back into my Ozarka bottle. I didn't change the amount, it just changed to fit the container. Now, the same amount of water, look what I'm gonna do. Here's another container from my kitchen. This is a bread pan that I used to make banana bread in. It's clear. I'm gonna pour this liquid. Remember, it was the same amount that was in my Ozarka bottle. I didn't go to the sink and get more. I didn't pour in another bottle. This is where it originally came from. So now I'm gonna pour this into my bread pan. And now you can see that it takes the shape of my bread pan, almost a rectangle shape. It was the same amount of liquid. I didn't change the amount of liquid. I just poured it into a different container, and it took on the shape of the container. Isn't that cool? So a liquid is a type of matter. Remember, matter is anything that can be weighed and anything that takes up space. You can see that this takes up space. It takes up the space of my pan. I can even put this on a scale and weigh it. It even kind of feels heavy with my hands. I have to be careful when I put it down so I don't spill. So those are examples of liquids. Now, if I were to pour that liquid out, that water, it would just run fast. It's not thick, it's thin. But if I were to pour out that honey or that soap, it would be much thicker. So liquids can be thick or they can be thin. And you can mix some liquids together. Have you ever played with watercolors before? If you've mixed the watercolor paint in water, it kind of changes the color of the water. Have you ever made chocolate milk before? You poured the chocolate syrup liquid into your white milk liquid, and you can mix them together, and they'll mix nicely. However, some things do not mix easily. For example, oil and water, they do not mix. That's a fun experiment if you've ever played with that before. If you take some water and some vegetable oil, you will see that the oil will rise to the top, and they do not mix together at all. So far we've talked about solids, liquids. The third type of matter is gas. Now, when I usually teach this lesson, I always have people giggle because they always think about the gas that's in your body. Well, guess what? They're right. We do have gases in our body. Did you know that we breathe in a gas, oxygen, and we release a gas called carbon dioxide? Gas is all around us. We can't see it. It's invisible. But gas is a type of matter. Now, what's interesting about gas is it can be weighed, and it does take up space, but it does not keep its shape or its size. In other words, it spreads out to fit the size and shape of its container. Think about a balloon. You take the gas that's in your body, the carbon, remember we release carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen, but we release carbon dioxide. So when you have that rubber balloon and you blow into that balloon, your gas from your body is taking on the shape of that balloon, and it's changing its shape. I have some bubbles. Now remember, bubbles, it's a liquid. I can hear it. If I poured it out, it would be just like water or just like my soap. But I can use the gases from my body to spread out the bubbles. Let's see if it'll work for me. I love to play with bubbles. Hope I don't make a mess. Ooh, that's good. You can see that the gases from your body helped form that bubble. It spread out to fit the size and shape. All right, this week, what I want you to do, I want you to have fun with science. I want you to see how many solids and liquids, and maybe see if you can experiment with some gases. I forgot to tell you about another fun gas that we see all the time. I don't know if you like to drink Coke or Dr. Pepper or Sprite. I don't know if you've ever popped open a can or twisted the cap on a bottle and you poured it over ice and those bubbles came to the top and that fizzy stuff was at the top. That's a gas. So solids, liquids, and gases are all around us. And remember, those are the three types of matter. And matter is anything around us that takes up space and that can be weighed. So think about my book. My book is heavy, I can weigh it. I could even weigh this clump of Play-Doh. My shoes, my earring, my laptop, my phone, anything around us, the toys in your bedroom. Matter is all around us, and it's either a solid, a liquid, or a gas. I want you to have fun this week. I want you to do some experiments. There's an experiment in your book on page 88 and 89. It looks like this. It has two little girls, and they have like a sheet pan from their kitchen, and they want to see how fast liquids flow. You could use bubbles, soap, honey, paint, ketchup, anything you have in your house, and you decide, or you watch, you observe which liquid was the fastest, which one was the slowest. So I want you to have some fun. Get some Play-Doh. Remember, Play-Doh is a solid, and remember that you can change it. It's not going to change on its own, but you can change it and mold it and squish it and make different things like a little snake or something, or a worm. But then it always goes back to its original shape. That's what I started off with, and that's what I'm going to end up with. So have some fun this week with matter. Go through your house, go through your toy room, and see what you can find. All right, have some fun. I love you. Bye-bye.